Wasted metal repairs to the sewing room. We see how much damage the sewage tank caused to our watertight integrity in the aft fire room. Stage 2 of dry dock prep. And the conclusion to a nationwide search for 2 hard-to-find items. Today on Project Update number 4 for the USS KIDD Shipyard period. Wasted metal has been removed from enlisted berthing C201L, aka the sewing room, where water leaks in the overhead scuttle eroded the decking over the course of several decades. The damage was more extensive than previously believed, with a 6-foot section of decking compromised beneath the footlockers, along with a smaller section of bulkhead behind the ladder. The lockers themselves also saw a little deterioration. They've been removed and will be taken back home to Baton Rouge for repair and preservation to be stored and reserved for use elsewhere aboard ship. The sewage tank museum modification has been disassembled in the aft fire room.
Looks like sewage.
You can see both of its pumps here awaiting removal. When installed in 1982, the designer made the short-sighted decision to use the compartment bulkhead as one side of his square tank, which has the potential to compromise the ship's structural integrity and compartmentalization. You can see here that we were lucky. While 42 years of constant exposure to sewage water has caused some pitting to the bulkhead, the metal has not been compromised. This section will be treated against further corrosion and painted. The new sewage system will have a smaller footprint, allowing us to monitor this section closely for any long-term repercussions. The 2 fan motors for the ventilation system that were sent to the repair shop are back and being reinstalled. This is cramped, crowded, heavy work to get these lined up and into position. You can see how servicing one of the quarterdeck fans involves raising and lowering this huge double ladder hatch leading down into aft berthing, and then getting the motor back in the corner below the overhead locker and lined up with the ductwork. Chain hoists are a must.
Hoist the colors.
The steel for another project has also recently arrived in the yard. 11 flat bar pieces that will be used to fabricate the louvers for our ventilation intakes and exhaust, scattered along the outer decks. These were sealed up in 1964 when the ship was put into mothballs and placed in the reserve fleet. When brought to Baton Rouge and opened as a museum, they were reopened and the fan motors put back into service. Expanded metal gratings were placed in the intakes and exhaust to keep out birds and rodents. But this is not what they looked like during World War II and the Cold War years. Instead, they featured a series of louvers like those seen here in these photographs, designed to keep out water from waves and blowing rains. Thoma-Sea will be returning these louvers to each of the ventilation openings. The expanded metal gratings will be pushed back slightly into the interior to allow space for the louvers to occupy the space that the gratings currently hold. This will allow the proper period appearance, protect against the incursion of rainwater and the subsequent rust and metal wastage, and still protect against birds and rodents. If you've been watching, you'll know that we are replacing all of the decking on the Fantail aft of gun mount 55. We explained the reasoning behind this in our previous update. The steel has now been delivered to the yard, 8 sheets, 400 square feet each, with a 3/8 inch thickness. With the material now on hand, work should soon be starting on the Fantail replacement. Meantime, museum staff has been at work duplicating our damage control booklet for the shipyard, with special emphasis on the stability and loading sections. With this information in hand, the yard can start preparing the blocking arrangements for the dry dock, as they are currently seen doing here on a different dry dock for a different vessel. Over the past few months, the staff has also been beating the bushes for blueprints of the foundations for our twin and quad 40mm gun mounts. All of the 40s were removed during KIDD's later Cold War service as they were deemed obsolete. With their removal, the foundations were cut off of the ship as well. The Navy was contracted in 1982 to return 2 twin mounts back to the forward superstructure before she departed Philadelphia for Baton Rouge. As we discussed in the last update, they placed steel doublers on the deck and then welded the guns straight to the deck. It's been our desire to change this to avoid trapped water causing deterioration and wasted metal. Therefore, the search was on for these blueprints. None were found in our own collection, what with the guns having been removed. Battleship Texas was able to provide the plans for the quad mounts, but the twins proved elusive. Rich Pikelny of USS Pampanito in San Francisco had given us a full set of prints back in 2014. But unfortunately, those plans were for a single barrel mount and did not seem to include a foundation print. USS Cass and Young and the National Park Service began combing their archives for us. USS Slater gave us access to their database. North Carolina, South Dakota, and Iowa-class battleships never had twin 40mm mounts. While the Sumner and Gearing-class destroyers did have 40s as built, all three survivors in the U.S. had long since lost their 40s in FRAM upgrades. The same was true of our sister Fletcher-class tin cans, but we contacted the Sullivans nonetheless, and Shane Stevenson scheduled a flash mob research team to comb their blueprints.
We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
We reached out to USS Salem just in case they had any cruiser prints that might have them, even if Salem herself never did. Volunteer Ed Zakowski solved the riddle of our Fantail deck deterioration, as mentioned in our last update. His basement collection of blueprints and manuals no doubt looks like the end scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That belongs in a museum.
He connected us with Sebastian Mulhern, who had recently purchased a set of destroyer escort blueprints from him, centered on 40mm Bofors. Mr. Mulhern generously offered to search his prints for the Twin 40 Foundation, photograph it, and send it to us, along with a few other tidbits we plan on adding after the yard period. In the end, though, the horse that crossed the finish line first was Dwayne Gallagher of the minesweeper USS Hazard in Omaha, Nebraska. Dwayne and Hazard previously located a set of prints for us in December 2023 for the missing prophylactic station's straddle sink, another item that we'll be fabricating when we get home from the yard.
Ew, gross.
With the prints now in hand, Thoma-Sea will soon begin fabrication of the foundations. Thanks to all of our friends across the country who aided in this search. It perfectly illustrates our assertion to everyone out there that we are #OneFleet. Back home here in Baton Rouge, Nathan Bergeron has been busy with restoration efforts. So a few of you have been asking, where are we doing this restoration here in Baton Rouge? What with the ship down at the shipyard in Houma? Well, that would violate OPSEC if I answered that. And as we told some of y'all when we were doing the restoration work on this gun deck exhibit here behind us, you don't have the need to know, and you don't have the clearance.
Welcome to Area 51.
He's been working on stripping down and cleaning the exterior and interior of the starboard 36-inch Sperry searchlight. Say that 3 times fast.
36-inch Sperry searchlight. 36-inch Sperry searchlight.
The port side light still retained its quill projecting from its undercarriage, making it difficult to transport and have a secure, stable base for it to be worked upon. The quill has now been temporarily removed. It will be returned to the base of the light when remounted aboard ship. In the meantime, a second quill will be fabricated using the first as a template, and it will be attached to the starboard light to properly reflect the correct appearance when the lights are returned. We've started bringing our 20mm ammunition magazines down to bare metal via our blasting cabinet. As you can see, the results are very nice. To see the KIDD arrive at Thoma-Sea Shipyard, we're serving up this video right here for you to click on and watch. Visit USSKIDD.com to donate and support this dry docking effort. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.